Hi everyone. Hi again for everyone who joined us for the first lecture of today for Q&A session and homework review. And also, if you have just joined, thank you again. I am glad someone has interest in these courses, and I am very excited to share the knowledge. You just need to ask more questions because I have the knowledge. It just I might be not that great at being able to deliver it. So if you have some questions or if you have any concerns or advice how to share it better, just send me a message in the messenger or on the Telegram or in the chat of the course or in the YouTube chat or in the Q&A file. I am very happy when I get messages. So let's move on to the soft skills module. You can find it in the course folder, and that's here. I listed some benefits. So today's soft skill module is about kind of talking about why knowing accounting is a great deal and what other people say about the benefits of accounting, and some of them are quite reputable in the field. I listed that based on my beliefs. You can also find other lists somewhere. They might provide you with additional benefits. Overall, it's probably hard to say that you can get kind of knowledge which is not useful. And in today's life, knowing knowledge of accounting is quite useful to everyone. It is a great career on its own. You can, I believe, in United States, in the field of accounting, there are like 2 to 3 millions of positions. It's a total number of positions. It's not an amount of like open positions available for applying, but it's like 1% of the populations of United States are accountants, and maybe you have some related fields like management or finances, and everywhere accounting knowledge will serve you like a good service. Accounting profession has some protection against outsourcing. You might have heard that United States is losing jobs abroad because people can vote remotely for very low prices, for several dollars per hour, in India, Pakistan, Eastern Europe, and yeah, that's true. That happens in information technology, in software development, and it also happens to some degree in accounting and bookkeeping. A lot of people outsource stuff to the Philippines, and that's true that basic small business accounting and bookkeeping and probably some tax returns are frequently outsourced to the Philippines. However, once businesses grow bigger or once businesses engage in more complicated transactions, they tend to still hire on-premise accountant or United States-based accountant because the quality of the work done by the outsources and the quality of their communication and the time differences and other issues may make a business owner to think that it is better to pay more for local United States-based service. And if we talk about big businesses, most of them use domestic accounting. First, because it is businesses' money, and domestic people, United States-based accountants, will be more responsible the business will be able to control accounting better with the on-premise accountant, and business will have better access to, like, if business owner has a questions about accounting, he will have better access to the person, and everyone is kind of, I don't think there is a lot of people who feel comfortable sharing their financial data with outside world. That's probably the main concerns for the outsourcing. That is why I would say it is that job has some protection. It also has some protection, and that's even a better protection. It's a protection by complexity. Accounting, once you go beyond some small business, when your business grows bigger, its transactions grows bigger and become more complicated, and you have couple of frameworks to deal with that transaction. You have accounting standards on the one side. It's probably not the worst nightmare out there, but you also have IRS, which will change the tax rules pretty frequently, and you need to pick up with that. You need to be able to get on the phone with the IRS from time to time. You need to receive letters to IRS and respond to them timely, and that becomes pretty complicated if you outsource accounting somewhere. And again, the third one, when the business grows bigger, management needs more insights into the business, and at that point they go to accountants to provide those insights. Like, for example, you need to calculate profitability of your different products, or you need to calculate return on investment on a advertising campaign, or you need to calculate cost of sales by production location, and all of that. Yeah, some outsource accountants can do that, but if they live in the Philippines or in India, their working time is often different from United States, and the business owner will not be able to receive any information he needed timely, and or he might have some language barrier, or he might find it hard to adjust to cultural differences, because it is I'm like of Eastern European region, and I know a lot of Indian people, and sometimes we can have some different views on cultural matters or work attitudes. A lot of people have great work attitudes, but sometimes it can feel that we are not on the same page regarding the priorities or something like that, because cultures are different, and we need to take that into account. I didn't want to offend any nationality with something. We Eastern Europeans are also not probably the best workers out there. Again, not trying to offend anyone. Everyone has its own view, and it can be the reason of the job not being outsourced to some other country. Hopefully YouTube will not ban me for that. I don't know if it's currently allowed to talk about cultural differences for different nationalities. Okay, let's move on to accounting, because so basically, because you have like a lot of difficult concepts in accounting, and they evolve over time, so IRS will change its requirements every several years. When Democrats change Republicans and Republicans change Democrats. They often like to start some new tax reforms, and a lot of stuff changes. And to keep up with that, you need to be kind of local. And one more important point: if business owner seeks for business insights from you as accountant, often, if it's like a retail business, or if it's like some business built on relationship, which is kind of most of small businesses, they are built on relationship. When he seeks for insight, like for example, he asks you as accountant, why is that vendor not profitable, and you kind of better be local to that business to know that what's going on with that vendor. In that case, you can provide relevant answer. For example, if you were serving as a if you are working as accountant in some supplies business which supplies inventories to like local cinemas, and one of the cinemas sales or project, one of the cinema project account becomes like very unprofitable, you might know that cinema was like closed down for some time due to COVID, or maybe they are having like a renovation, or maybe they just signed a contract with a different supplier and they currently got supplies from two suppliers. It is very hard to learn that if you are like an outsourced accountant from abroad, and you have very little chances to know local context, and that local context is very important for small businesses. That's why I would say that accounting, except for very basic accounting is harder to outsource than like some software professions. Okay, let's move on. If you already have a job as a manager, so if you manage something in some company, you have to deal with the financial measures. Like you have your own KPIs, you have revenue numbers, you have EBITDA, or you have inventory balances to deal with. And you either understand the concepts and underlying of that concepts by yourself, or you will have to ask the accountant about that all the time. That is why all the MBA's programs and some additional separate certificates from business schools, they have accounting included. That way a manager can learn what is behind the numbers he have in his KPIs, or costs per product, or working capital levels, receivables, inventories. Basically, every number manager has to deal with, a financial number, monetary number, it is based on the entity's accounting. It can be adjusted, so it can be like a GAAP number adjusted for some managerial corrections, managerial adjustments, but it is still based on accounting. That is why to make a good progress in the managerial career, you kind of need to know accounting too. Otherwise, you will be fully dependent on the quality of your of accountants you have in your company. The third benefit is that with accounting knowledge and some experience, you can start your own business as an accountant or bookkeeper. Some courses in the internet, they say that you can buy their like $2,000 course and open your bookkeeping business and find your clients and move on, and that you can do that for scratch. I basically kind of advise a bit against that, because it will not be the best investment of your time and money. If you learned basic stuff, bookkeeping and accounting, maybe you got some degree from the community college, associate degree in accounting, you better go and work for some time for some business and just learn how they do their things, how they search the clients, how they service the clients, what software do they use, what services do they provide, and how they provide that services. Because running your own business is quite complicated matter. You will not only have to do accounting and work in your business, doing the actual books, you will also have to work on your business, searching the clients. And when you do that from scratch with basic knowledge, you compete with everyone out there. You compete with anyone who is on the Upwork or on other outsourcing site, because your skill is basic, and the competition for the basic accounting skills is pretty harsh. So I don't think it's a great idea to run your own business from scratch without prior experience. It's probably not much people who will buy that unless you severely undercut your price. Or maybe you have an option to for example, if your spouse has or your family has their own company, you can work as a bookkeeper in that company and take some risk, of course. Or maybe you can get another bookkeeper to supervise you. In that situation, you maybe can start on your own without prior experience. But the general rule is you better get some experience before you start your own business. Accounting is still good for remote work. In current environment, if you are based in US, it will be relatively easy to find a remote work for the United States company. Most of them, if they advertise remote position, they still want you to be local to US. And currently that's a big trend. A lot of remote positions, even on the higher levels. If you remember, we had that in module 1, we discussed some accounting career. Let's see where we have it. Okay, here. So basically you can find managerial and senior managerial level, like controllers, directors. You can find these available on the remote basis. I'm not sure about C-level. I just haven't checked. But for my level, like here, I see a lot of positions available on the LinkedIn. Which offer remote opportunities for those who reside in United States. Okay, what else do we have here? If you invest in stocks and shares, or if you manage your own finances, like mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, you will, with accounting knowledge and experience, you will get a better grasp on that matters. For example, if you invested in some company, you will know what, like, for example, if its shares tanked during the earnings call, you will be able to figure out why that happened. When you will be reading analysts' reports, you will have much better understanding about what they are talking about in their reports. You will get a grasp what the earnings per share is, why profit is bad, why cash flow. So, for example, if some company, it was a case for oil and gas companies in United States, especially those who pump shale oil, they have big problems with free cash flow. And free cash flow is a thing which you got from a cash flow statement. You just take your operating cash flow and deduct capital investment, capex, investing cash outflows. So you deduct that and you got some cash which is available for the company to pay for debts. And that was a key metrics for shale oil companies. And without accounting knowledge, you will probably have difficulties understanding that. And many of those companies ended up bankrupt during 2020 when the oil hit negative numbers or close to zero numbers. They just declared bankruptcy, and people who invested in those companies lost all of their money or most of their money on that investment. With accounting knowledge, you will be able to better understand what is going on with the companies. I personally think that it's good to follow Warren Buffett advice and keep most of your money in stock indices, maybe with sometimes switching to cash if you feel that everything is kind of overheated. But that's not an investment advice. That's the way I think how I would do with my money. Please don't use it as a guidance. I do not have any certification to provide investment advices. Okay, so you get better with that. What we have 10:21. We still have about half an hour to go. If you are a small business owner, and if you run your own small business, an accounting knowledge will add you confidence in dealing with accountants and bookkeepers. It is kind of also provide you some insight about how to better manage your cash flows to minimize your tax paid. About taxes, it is usually you can only defer them for most of the time. So it will be just the management of the timing of the taxation. But also if you have like losses in one year and gains in another year, you can kind of manage in certain conditions. You can kind of manage when you recognize losses and gains, and it's all legal. It's not tax fraud. There are options for that, and you definitely need to talk to CPA about that, preferably with experience in the field. But in some circumstances, it's possible, especially if you are cash basis taxpayer. If you are a small business cash basis taxpayer, it is possible to manage your revenues and expenses and get a better tax treatment, lower tax liability. For example, another example when you want to do that is if you anticipate that tax rates will go up in your tax bracket, then you can move profits back. So you can move profits from the next year to the current year, and you can pay taxes in the current year at a lower rates compared to the next year. Or on the other hand, if you anticipate that tax rates will decrease, you can move your profits forward and pay taxes at the lower rates. Or if you anticipate that your business will be much better next year and you will hit the higher tax bracket, you will want to move some profits of the next year in your current year to pay taxes in the lower tax bracket. It's a complex tax planning, but if you have basic accounting knowledge as an entrepreneur, at least you can ask these questions to your CPA and see what they can tell you. A good CPA will probably ask those questions to yourself in the first place. But sometimes businesses just go to CPA and say we want basic services to pay as little as possible for CPA, no extras, no extra features, just give us bare minimum so that IRS will not fine us for any tax stuff. But there are tools available to actually improve your cash flows. Do not expect much for it. It will probably manipulate 5-10% of your net profit of your taxable income, but it still can be several $1,000s or $10,000s of dollars. So speak to your CPA. Or another example can be a bonus depreciation. In accounting, you usually depreciate an asset over several years, 3-5 years, and tax guys, IRS allows you to depreciate some assets at like 100% in first year or 50% in first year, depending on the current tax regulations. So that would be, you kind of buy some fixed assets and you write that off into the taxable expense. So you reduce your taxable income by the full value of that assets in the first year, instead of doing it with some different schedules like over 5 or 7 years. And that can be a great tax planning tool too. As you can see at the bottom, and I will post it to the chat. Let's see where I have chat. Okay, not that one. Here. I found a great resource. I'm over. So there is a great resource available here at the Harvard Business School site. It has an article about learning accounting. It is more or less similar to what we have just discussed, and it has a link to download a manager's guide to finance in accounting. And that book, I've already downloaded it. Let me... Okay, so that's a pretty nice book. You can find some concepts like accounting equation here, which we already covered. You can also find many managerial items here. So that book will mostly speak about managerial view on the accounts. It will not be that detailed on the accounting side as we are trying to be. So it will not discuss double entries, but it will show you some balance sheet templates, and it is a good read, especially if you want to improve some English. You can research that book. You can print it out, find the words or concept you are not familiar with, and highlight the matters. To be able to learn them or translate them and learn them in new language. So that's pretty great book. Okay, 10:30. Time to switch to learning techniques. These learning techniques are mostly universal. So they are here in soft skills module. I will share the link to YouTube. Not that one. And I also have that file. Let me try to share it with the link. Most of your accounting knowledge will come from practice. So accounting is very like practice-oriented discipline. But sometimes, especially on the early stages of your accounting career, you will have to learn like lists, different lists of different concepts. And there are it's nothing new here. Even ancient people used these techniques. Here I put some link to where you can read more about that. And today we will look into memory palace technique. There is also mnemonics, and we kind of utilize storytelling techniques too. I generally advise to use repetition technique, like to rewatch the videos or to go over your notes if you made notes during the videos. That way, so that's a known algorithm how your memory works. For the first time, your information is stored in the short-term memory. And if you lose it repeatedly, it kind of transfers to the long-term memory. So repetition can also help you with learning and accounting. And that's why many of my lectures, we do not jump into new material from the beginning. We kind of did some review of the previous material. So we use repetition as well. And the third one, the last one, is while you are learning some stuff, it is beneficial also to try to teach someone else the same stuff. That will help you to repeat material. That will help you to kind of practice the material. And that's also a great technique. That's why I planned to do teamwork on the course. We haven't started a real teamwork yet. We will do like a homework for the first few sessions, and then we will catch up on the teamwork. And I will add here and I will highlight it. So today we are going to learn memory balance method. Let's go to the link here, and it's also called the lossy. Lossy is probably like location. Yeah, if you remember a TV show about Sherlock Holmes, British, aired in 2010, he used the memory balance method. And also, when you use that method, I will show you right now the example of that method. You also should try to use like a storytelling. And while doing the lossy method, the memory palace method, you try to take some place you know the best. Let's have some view here in the Telegram. Okay, saved messages. So that's the picture of the places I know good. It is not very. It is a bit messy now. Kids did some experiments there and played with the stuff. And this is my kitchen. And I will show you how to use it in the memory palace method. So if you go to the memorization technique here, to that file, that's the second link which I shared in the chat. You will find that I have a memory palace, my kitchen here. And I ordered clockwise the items I have there, like fridge, kombucha mushroom. I don't know if you know what is kombucha. It's basically a China grip. Mixer, microwave, stove, coffee machine, sink, dishwasher. So if we go back to the picture, fridge, kombucha, mixer here, microwave, stove, coffee machine, sink, dishwasher. So we have memory palace on one side. You will have to make your list with the items which you know best. And then we have a list of items to remember. And I took a list of assets from our homework file, from debit credit tab. We have a list of assets here. And I broke it down in groups of 3 to associate with each item in my memory palace. You can do one by one. I just used 3 to kind of save some place in my memory palace. And now you need to develop a story when you move through your memory palace. In that case, that's my kitchen. You need to develop a story happening to these items. And that story, that should be as memorable as possible. For example, if it's kind of funny, that's great. If it's kind of cruel, that's also great, because our brain remembers emotions the best. It can be bloody, it can be like a dark humor, it can include some sexuality in it. Whatever increases your emotions related to the story will serve for better memorization. Also, there is a great book about that topic. I put the link here. It's called Moonwalking with Einstein. It was pretty popular at the day. It's like has 4,700 reviews on the Amazon. It's a bit long. You can just Google the summarized memorization technique method. But if you like reading the books, you can kind of buy it. Paperback, $9.79 used. I don't think that's a bad offer. Or you can probably find it somewhere else, not on Amazon. So let's see what I prepared. And I caution you, I will have some bloody stuff and dark humor going on there. So first one is the fridge. So I use my imagination to imagine that I'm passing by my fridge, and I see that in the one part of my fridge, let's say in the main part, I have cash in form of $1 bills. And in the other part of the fridge, in the freezer, I have a person, a customer, who didn't pay for his kombucha delivery. And that is why there was an account receivable for that. let me add a couple of comments here. So we have $1 bills here, and we say that that's for cash. That's we want to remember cash here. And in the other part of the fridge, we see the customer who didn't pay for his delivery. So that's accounts receivable. And we want to make an allowance for his receivables. Let's just put it in here. Allowance for receivables. Let's see if I have enough time to go through all of that. I probably have enough time. Yeah, so allowance for receivables. So that is a short story. And if you imagine yourself in the start of the kitchen and we move kind of clockwise, you close your eyes and you imagine the situation, the fridge full of $1 bills, and you also have a guy who didn't pay you for kombucha delivery, so you have a receivable, and you also have allowance for that receivable because he's probably not going to pay you. And now, as a number 2, we have a kombucha mushroom. Again, if you're not familiar with kombucha, you can Google what that is. That's a big stuff right here, a big bottle with a mushroom inside. So our next items are on the list are inventories, supplies, and prepaid advertising. And while passing by kombucha on our kitchen, we can imagine. I need a more place here. Is the picture quality good enough? Tell me if picture quality is good enough. So we are in a kombucha business. We sell kombucha. We go past that bottle and we think, okay, kombucha is doing great. It is full of finished goods, kombucha. And we have all the raw materials and supplies, which is supplies. Let me add comments here. So we have finished goods and we have supplies. And we want to make, and we're thinking about making a TikTok account for our kombucha mushroom. So he will have his own TikTok account, and we prepaid some money for advertising of that account. So we have a prepaid advertising on the books. So now you can close your eyes and go through 2 steps. In the first step, you got a fridge with cash and the customer who didn't pay. That's why you have a receivable with allowance. And on the second step, you have a kombucha mushroom, which is kombucha is a finished goods for you, and you have sugar and tea as raw materials. And you also made a TikTok account for the kombucha mushroom and prepaid for the advertising. That's why you have an advertising. I know it can sound a bit stupid, and sometimes I was trying to do that reasonably funny, or at least a bit memorable. So your story needs to be memorable. It kind of has to trigger your emotions somehow. So it's all individual. Your mileage may vary, so your jokes might be different from mine. You don't need to try to follow my sense of humor, but it has to trigger your emotions. So we did with kombucha, and now we have a mixer. And for mixer, we got prepaid insurance, prepaid rent, and notes receivable. So mixer, you can probably call it KitchenAid or something like that. I'm not very good with the kitchen terminology. Hopefully so mixer is right here, that thing, and it also has that bowl. So that's a mixer here. I'm showing that you can imagine it better in more details. So for the mixer, what do we say for the mixer? We can imagine that there are, if we Google mixer accidents, we will find out that some people lose fingers, hands, or their lives due to mixer accidents. Probably hundreds people have accidents with mixers, and pretty severe accidents, like a bloody accidents. And we say, okay, since we got a mixer here and we work with it, we would be better buying an insurance for the mixer. And most of the insurances are based on prepayments. So we prepay for insurance for 12 months or for 6 months or quarterly. So that is great that we can afford prepaid insurance to be on our books because we have such dangerous tool as a mixer. It's actually not very dangerous, but still, someone has a way to die because of the mixer. And then we also think, okay, what if the accident happens and we cannot pay rent anymore? We would, or for some time, we would better prepay rent. We would better prepay rent for a few months to make our kombucha mushroom happy and to keep the house, to keep the place to live for kombucha mushroom. Again, I'm trying to kind of joke here. You don't you don't have to follow my sense of humor. You can have your own. I'm just trying to make it a bit funny. So we need to prepare rent for kombucha mushroom. And the last one, notes receivable. If accident happens and we lose working capacity or working time, we will be able, if we prepaid insurance, we will be able to receive a compensation from some insurance. It could be life insurance, workers related insurance, business insurance, general business insurance due to business interruption. So we will have a receivable from insurance. If we sustain damages or losses, we will have a receivable. Then the next one, microwave. The next item in our memory balance, microwave. And we have equipment, plant, and land. And for that piece, I made up a story that microwave is a good piece of equipment. However, I should not put my wife's plants in it. And I played here around the word plant, which is like a flower, and which is also your like a property, plant, and equipment item in accounting. So it sounds the same. So I imagine that I put one of my wife's flower into the microwave and tried to make the plant a bit warmer. That I would probably need some insurance after doing that. My wife definitely won't be happy. So microwave is a good piece of equipment, but we don't put plants in it because plants can explode and leave a lot of earth inside. I forgot the other word for the, is it like earth or soil? Anyway, I use that to associate with land. So I close my eyes, I imagine a microwave, a good piece of equipment, and I imagine the plant exploding into it, and that should help me to remember the plant, property plant and equipment, as well as land, because it's an earth, soil everywhere. And the last one is stove. So if you go back, okay, where do I have a picture? So here's a microwave, here's a stove. I have more items to learn more stuff here, but I will not go there at this point. So the last one is a stove. And I imagine a Russian writer, Gogol, who burned one of his novels. I believe it was the second part of Dead Souls. Sounds like a Netflix series. So he burned his Dead Souls Volume 2. And that, with doing that, he kind of lost on his copyright assets. So he could have a copyright for that novel, but he burned it. So this novel depreciated immediately or amortized immediately. And the last session, in the last word I needed to remember was a goodwill. And I just imagined Gogol going to the goodwill and donating his second part of Dead Souls to the goodwill to be sold for 49 cents there. So if everything was right, if you use your own kitchen, which you can probably know more or less in your imagination without much effort, and if you did your own story here, it is important that you do your own story. You do not need to do my story. You can try to do that, but it's not how the method works. It should be your story. So I, for example, close my eyes. I imagine a fridge with cash dollar bills there and a customer who didn't pay, so we have accounts receivable. I closed my eyes not to see anything. I'm just going through my memory palace. Let me just open a picture here. So I imagine a fridge here. So I don't see anything listed, but I see my kitchen, or I can imagine my kitchen in my mind. So I have a fridge with a cash and customer. Then I have a kombucha mushroom with which is a finished product, and for which we have raw materials like tea and sugar. And there I have a mixer, which is a very dangerous tool, and I would be better prepaying insurance when I am dealing with the mixer. So I have a prepaid insurance as well as prepaying rent in case I'm not able to make my rent in the future, so that the apartment will stay. And so I have prepaid rent. SCOBY? Okay, yeah. Kombucha SCOBY. Thanks. I translated from Russian. In Russia, we'll know it as a tea mushroom, like a China grape. Okay, thanks. So we have a mixer for which we have prepaid insurance, prepaid rent, and now I kind of forgot what was a third situation here. Prepaid rent. So I have two options. I have to move back and double check to use some repetition method, or I can move on and then review the full amount. So I choose to move on. In the microwave. Microwave is a good piece of equipment, but I would be better not putting my wife's flowers into it, because they can explode and soil everything with earth, which is land. So plant, I remember equipment, plant, land. And in the stove, Gogol has burned his volume 2 of Dead Souls. He could have got a great copyright on it, but he burned it, so he forfeited it, and he could have been better just going to the Goodwill store, that's the word Goodwill, and donating it to be sold for 49 cents. So as you can see, I remembered out of that list of like 9 items, I remembered 8 with that method. And if you do that exercise, the most beneficial part of that exercise is you will be able to recall most of that story in a few days or even in a month, and you will be able to recall most of that. You can also try to learn with that method like a list of American presidents. You can imagine a fridge full of $1 bills, and that would be George Washington. And you can move on to everyone else. You kind of just to have to be good with associations. Which one I lost? Yeah, I lost a note receivable for the insurance. So I repeat that, and I do a couple of cycles of the story, and I promise you, if you do that this way, the knowledge will stick for a long time, and you can have several memory palaces. If you have a park you like to walk around, you can use that park, and that's a great method to learn the lists of items. It's widely used for people who study for medicine in United States, because they have to learn a lot by heart, and that method is great. It will not help you with practice though. I mean, it will help you with practice because you will kind of recognize what is the assets and what is the liability based on the name of the operation or the item in the operation. But you can use it in the other areas of your life. Okay, it's fun. We have the top attendance closer to the end of the course, and I'm going to end. I'm going to end because we need to start with the next stream. Let's see each other in 5 minutes. Scobie, colors. I got a question for colors. I used colors to say that cash is kind of the most liquid item on the list, and cash is obviously green. These are less liquid items on the list, and the orange ones are the least liquid items on the list. So it takes the most time to convert these items into cash. And the red ones, they are listed within the assets, but they are more like an exceptions. I need to share with you the second link. Okay, where do I have a course schedule? I need to share with you the next link, and I will be ending that translation. Can I ask anyone to share the links to the chats? Okay, next one will be balance sheet. I'm ending this stream. Thank you everyone for attendance. Let's meet in 5 minutes. We will be a bit late to the party compared to the schedule, but we will meet